People, welcome to UK Jazz, a guide to going pro. I'm a pro UK jazz dancer, and I've been a pro since the 80s. I've been a professional dancer of UK jazz dance, and I'm a pioneer and innovator. And one of the things I want to share with people, you have to respect for others, but also yourself, your art form, your culture, your city. You have integrity to talk about your city. You have to have commitment, responsibility, integrity to share with people the misrepresentation that is taking place. As a dancer, anywhere I've gone in the world, I talk immediately about the misrepresentation of UK jazz dance. The information that you've got on representation, the information you've got on UK jazz dance is false, because you haven't got the heritage, you haven't got the history. You hear me talking about that also. I wanted to share with individuals what people need to understand. What you see today on social media, you see a lot in Britain, just solo dancing. Well, you need to understand it was a group thing. There was hundreds of groups in the UK. Because it was an art form which involved selfish practice to be in a group. What happened was it raised the caliber of the creativity that was in it. It's important people to understand. This is one of the most athletic dances that we had since Lindy Hop. People need to understand this art form was as athletic as a Lindy Hop. You needed to have Olympian fitness. What you had was groups dancing together, cooperatively, collaboratively. And then what you had is competitions, you had battlegrounds. And people, you've not seen that. Because what happened, 99% of the videos have been hidden photographs, because people don't want you to know it was a collaborative art form, it was an activity that where people, you can see people brought communal behavior, and it reflects African retentions of communal spirited dancing, African American communal dancing and West Indian communal dance. You see it. You don't see people being aggressive or anything, which has been portrayed through Eurocentric writers who've made sure you've not seen any pictures of this art form and made sure you've seen the videos. It's not what you see right now. You see a lot of soloing. Soloing did happen, but you saw a lot of groups together, and that's what's missing. So I need to give you an insight from a pro perspective as an individual who went to the battleground, was involved in the battlegrounds, talking about all dayers which have been missed. Certain clubs, these were battlegrounds where people travelled from coaches, had coaches, all dayers, coaches from different cities came to battle each other. Do you understand? Just like the hip hop, just like the house. But there were groups. You have to understand, we've seen a lot of individuals today. That's not how it was. It was a lot of groups. Do you understand? Very important people you understand what you see. You would see groups together. Now you see individuals, because that, if today, UK jazz reflects the breakdown of the culture. What happened was groups used to travel with each other 7 days a week and practice. You have to understand. Later on, due to the breakdown of the social dancing, it came to be like partners, and then it came to be individuals just going to clubs. So there was a breakdown in the community due to oppression in society. For example, jobs people did, people working shifts. Some people wanted to keep the groups going, but a film called Absolute Beginners destroyed any hope of that happening. So people decided, you know what, we're just going to get on, just forget it now. Our opportunity in 86 has been lost, because Absolute Beginners basically put UK jazz dance on the map of the world, and then the film flopped. People didn't want anything to do with the dance. The dances that were seen on Absolute Beginners, nobody wanted anything to do with them because they're out of context, and basically they reflected the dancers in a colonial way. It basically didn't show us in a dignified way. It didn't show us from a position of excellence. It didn't show us from a position of pride and respect. So nobody wanted anything to do with dance. And the film didn't have dignity neither. So people wanted to forget about this film, which is important for me to talk about pro. So what happened, that was in 86. People like myself was in a wide range of dance companies, and I developed myself as a contemporary dancer. I didn't follow the commercial world of a UK jazz dancer, but underground I did my own things. But what happened was from the 90s, when acid jazz came, the creativity was lost. It's important for me to talk about this now. Many DJs get upset with me when I talk about acid jazz. Acid jazz brought drugs, drink, and no lack of self-care for oneself. That's what the art form brought. You see, what happened, the culture, UK jazz dance, the dancers originally never drank. They never took drugs. They were teetotal and looked after themselves, because that's what they taught from their parents. The music we were dancing to basically was Coltrane. that type of music, we got to the point where we were dancing to avant-garde music. That's what we were dancing to, which was taking us to ecstasy, was raising our consciousness. Acid jazz, there's no acid jazz track yet that was created to raise our consciousness. And what happened, acid jazz traveled the world where individuals weren't showing people how to dance to it anyway, first of all, which happened with the dance floor jazz. The acid jazz scene, people started to take drugs. People started to not chill out, not be creative, not realizing creativity keeps you in health. They never realized the significance. Ital culture, Rastafari, Ital culture was part of UK jazz dance because the movements, some of them came from the reggae dancehall. People need to understand this. And that's not been identified, you see, because Eurocentric writers, they weren't part of the reggae scene, but they're part of the acid jazz scene. And they tried to make out they made this dance, this great dance world. They didn't. There's more people hooked on drugs because of acid jazz and acid house. Get this clear and this wrong. Because how acid jazz was actually called acid jazz is because the DJs were taking drugs. That's what happened. They were promoting drugs. The dancers, we weren't promoting drugs, but later on people started to take drugs and smoke and drink. That wasn't part of our culture, and that wasn't part of what happened, what we promoted. So it's important for me to say that to individuals in the sense of being a professional. I need to keep commitment, responsibility, integrity to tell you what happened. I did this art form to keep myself healthy, and my partners did it. But when the culture was lost, there was all that came in was acid house, acid jazz, and drugs came in. And drugs had been flooded into the community from 1981 from the riots. But people kept away from that, looking for hope through Absolute Beginners, the film 86, offering dancers an opportunity to create careers without going to dancing school. That's what the film offered, and that's why I talk about it. Because there's free dance companies that was in it that trained themselves. They weren't at dance school, they know how to dance. And that would have opened a door, like vernacular dads, like the Nicholas brothers, they trained themselves to be in films. And that's what we thought was going to happen. But it didn't. So overnight, nobody wanted anything to do with the dance. So there was no careers and employability for many dancers. Only a few that had the tenacity to keep themselves together. Blue K Jazz Dance out.